Well, hello there again, friends. Today is 10/29/2022, and today is the Odin Project vlog day 158. And I have arrived. I'm going to call this part 1 anyway of Project CV application, even though in my last video, technically that was part 1, but that was more going over troubleshooting how to get uh, React to port into your GitHub repo. So this will be focused more on the actual project, so I'm just going to call it part 1. And I'm going to preface this by saying, in case you guys haven't started this yet, or those of you that have and have gotten severely stuck, don't make the mistake I did, and don't try to do everything at once. Meaning, there's a lot of steps in here. Last time we left off with removing the boilerplate. That's pretty self-explanatory. But the rest of these, um, I'm not going to read through it for the sake of the brevity, but you might have to skip around a little bit and do things in pieces. And what I mean by that is you can do simply like create components folder in your source directory and your components. That's number 6, even though that technically should be way at the top here because you need to create that before you do any of this other stuff. So I feel like top kind of has this a little out of order. But nevertheless, I'm not here to critique. And then also making a style folder inside source for your styling. But I guess the meat and potatoes here is spend a lot of time in mock-up. One thing I did do good, and you can't see this unfortunately, I wish I could show you because I feel like I did a really good job, but it's on paper, is I mocked up my CV application, what I thought it would look like, and what I envisioned it look like in my head before I ever wrote code. So I have basically, I have 5 different sections. There's general info class and educational info class, and you'll see this in the browser come to life, but I'm just saying it out loud here. Experience info, buttons, and display CV, and each one of those has a section broken off for that information, kind of like it's shown here. Like a section to add general information like email, phone, and number, name, email, phone number, etc. Everything has to be a class, and I found, you guys might as well, I found Googling all class setup with React is very difficult to find any good information on because everybody uses, with the introduction of hooks, everybody uses functions now because I guess we haven't learned it yet, but I guess it's just easier. So just letting you know that you might run into some resistance finding good information out there on the web doing this only in class, because in here it says you should only use class components for this exercise, and basically later you'll come back and rewrite it with functional ones. So yeah, so that kind of threw me off from the beginning. But anyway, so going into the app here, so what I did, excuse me. What I did here is I commented out all the stuff I was working on. So basically I was trying to write a module, and I was trying to create a component, and then I was trying to do state and props all at the same time in a section before I moved on. So that's why you see all this commented code. So I created the app.js, well, React did that, but I cleaned it up. I started putting stuff in it. I created the general info module component, which is the top of the page of the CV app. That's the general info that includes the name, email, and phone that I just mentioned. And you can see I have and this part actually does work great, but I had commented it out and you'll see why in a moment. But I started working with props and state all at the same time that I was trying to render the structure, and I quickly got so confused. This thing was not working at all. So I went back to the mocking, and I found a really cool article. It was actually embedded deep inside the material, but it says thinking in React, and this is kind of the template I follow, if you will. So it says start with a mock, and I'll put this link. This is I found this very helpful, and I'm not through it yet, obviously, but this is just video 1. But I will put this in the description and the first comment of the video so you guys can see it and use it. So basically, without reading into it too much, you mock it up and you break it down into parts. So I'll let you read all this specifically on your own. But basically, you mock it down into parts. Your big, you know, light orange box here would be your app.js, and these would be your components inside. You have a component for filterable products, search bar, product table, product category row, and product row red. And then you list those based on the hierarchy as they should be shown as children. So in my example, I have app, and then a child of app is general info, educational info, experience info, buttons, and display CV. And then after that, you build a static version in React. And so basically, all you're doing is creating the classes, and you're just rendering to the screen. You're not worried about props. You're not worried about state. You're just simply getting the bones, as I call it, of the application onto the screen so that you can see it. And that was, as simple as that sounds, that is very important, because you'll keep yourselves out of the weeds. I think it talks about in here you'll spend a lot of time typing. Yeah, it's best to decouple these processes there, meaning decoupling your rendering and getting your elements on the screen from the UI interaction with the state and the props, because building a static version requires a lot of typing, no thinking, and adding interactivity requires a lot of thinking and not a lot of typing. And that is so true. So there was a lot of typing here. There was a little bit of thought that went into it when I did mine, and it's a lot like this. So we'll go through it now. And I stopped at my next step is step 3, which is identifying the minimal but complete representation of the UI state. So starting to then implement some of the nuts and bolts of state and props. But haven't got that far. That's for the next video. So sorry I chatted a lot there. I just wanted to preamble that to let you guys know to maybe follow that document. It might help keep you organized. And so, because I went down many rabbit holes that I really didn't need to go down, and it was quite frustrating. So basically, at the top here, we'll go linearly from the top to the bottom. So we have our parent root of app.js that we're all familiar with, and just simply put a render in there, and it's going to return a form with a label. Enter CV info, and it's going to call general info. So I put these tabs in order that they're called, just for simplicity of for me and for the video. And it's going to call general info. And I had, as you can see here, in case I wanted to go back and undo it, or just remember what I had done previously when I was spinning my wheels, I just left all this comment out. But you see, I had buttons on here, and I was running into all sorts of problems that I won't go over in this video, but it basically wasn't working because I was trying to send child props up the component chain to a parent, and you can't do that. I found some hacks out there on YouTube, other YouTube videos and other articles of how to do that, even though that's not best practice to do. So, not doing that. Got to find another way. So this calls general info, and so that creates basically a form, and then we go over to general info. We import React components and edu, because we'll do edu info at the end. And we're, again, commenting that out for now, even though that part works well. We're doing a render, just rendering onto the screen. I'm doing a field set for each of these components so that they look a little prettier on the page. So here's a field set for general info section. So we have a pname input for name, an email input for email, and a phone input for phone. And as you can see here, I have an on-change handle that's not doing anything right now because it's commented out above, because I'm focused just on the static page, getting the static parts of the code built for React. But you can see we have type text, we have an ID. That's just so we can target CSS with it later. And required true, I put that in there. I googled that because that wasn't part of anything I found online, but I googled that to figure out, because I wanted the form to be somewhat responsive. And so, same type of deal. type email ID, email input ID, phone input, telephone. This filters it to be a telephone, and you can set a regex pattern, which I did. That just basically means that you do, for U.S. citizens, you do the 3-digit prefix, 3-digit suffix, and 4-digit postfix for your phone number with dashes in between. And I put a placeholder on there to tell the user how I want it, and it's a required field. Email, same type of deal. You use type email, and it'll force an email. So obviously, as we learned way back when with validation, form validation, email will require a @ and a .com or a dot in there. It doesn't have to be com, but it has to have an @ sign and a period for that to be valid. And at the bottom here, we call edu info. If you notice, I have blank. I found this on a YouTube video, actually. I was watching of somebody else. You can use, instead of using div, which clutters up the HTML DOM, which I didn't really care for, I used blank. I don't know what you call these, I guess. He had a name for it. I can't remember the name. But basically, they're empty HTML tags, and they don't show up in the DOM, so that's pretty sweet. So it keeps it clean. But yet, JSX sees this as your parent element to render against. So that's why those are there, and that's why you see those. So here we're going to edu info, because that's what we're calling next, edu info. Same type of concept. We're just, this one, since it's newer, it doesn't have any commented code out, because at this point I had figured out that I needed to do just the rendering for the static page first. So here's the blank HTML again for the root to render against, and then we have another field set here, and then we have legend, education, info section. Same type of deal. We have school input for school name, and then variables. Again, the variables are on all these are commented out because I'm not using them yet, but they are valid the way they are sitting there, I think. But I just wanted to comment them out because I was getting error messages in the console because it was undefined, obviously, and I did not want to work with that yet, one step at a time. Trying to take this a little bit more methodical. So we have major, graduation date. Again, just different types of input. This input's date, this is a text, and this is a text, and they're all required. And then we call down here xinfo, x for experience info. We come here for experience info. Same deal. We're returning another field set for experience info section, company name, and all the values for that for text input. Title, here's another text input, and job duties, etc., etc. Start date, end date. This is all the stuff in the requirements section of the homework that was presented right here. Section info, your education, and your practical experience, and so that's where those are coming from. And then we call buttons, and buttons will just render the screen 2 buttons. So far I have it as a type submit CV and a edit CV. Again, like I've said in other videos, all this is subject to change, obviously, but this I don't think so, because I feel like I've got a good bare bones system to work with. Some of the parent-child flow might change, but I feel like I got a pretty good handle on this right here. And then we're going to call display CV class component next, and that's the last one. And that just is an H1, just calling a display section ... just as a placeholder. But my idea here is this is eventually going to be the div that returns all of the section that returns all of the HTML code for the display, as I kind of skipped over that a little bit. But part of the requirements in here is you want a submit button that should submit your form and display the values of your HTML input, and a edit button that will add back display the input fields so you can edit them and resubmit. So again, since I'm not using props or state yet, I haven't gotten that far, but the buttons are in place. So looking at the what you guys are really come here for, besides the code, so seeing this in the browser, here you got the general. So here is the app.js section, the enter CV, and then excuse me, all this is encapsulated inside of that, and you can see right here. if I hover over the modules or the components, we have app, general info, edu info, exp info, buttons, and display. And you can see here's all the inputs, and if I try to click submit CV, please fill out the field. So here's the buttons for the CV. Edit it will be the same thing, because again, I haven't made any logic, but because I made these required true, it's not letting me submit, which is fine. I see the different formatting there for the different types of input. Most of these are text. There's your email, there's your phone number with their place marker, placeholder, place marker, whatever you want to call it. School, major, graduation date. Yeah, so, and you can see here, these are child of each other. Well, technically they're coming across as, which is what I wanted. Technically all these info ones are, actually all of them in my notes are all children of app, and these are all siblings to each other. But I don't mind the way it's being interpreted by React, because general info will flow to edu info. I will have edu info, so it's all going to flow down, because I need the submit button to submit all the entries to the display section below. So that's good. I want it to do that. And then the only problem I see myself having that I have to, eventually in a future video figure out, is the edit might be kind of weird, because again, like I said before, you're not supposed to be able to, or can't anyway, send children props back up the chain to the parent. Edit CV in my mind might be trying to do that, because if you've already got stuff down here in display and you hit the edit button, it's going to want to take the display info, which is again a downward child, is fine, but then it's going to try to input it back into these fields, and I think I might have a problem there, because that's a parent component, and I'm technically passing props back up. So I may be thinking that wrong, I may be overthinking that, but right now I feel like that's going to be a problem. The submit, I don't think it'd be a problem, because it's just submitting everything down to display, but we'll see. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I tried not making this super long, even though it ended up being 17 minutes, but I went kind of fast, so feel free to rewatch this over for further understanding. And I will include, like I said earlier, I will include this React.js doc in the first comment and in the description of the video, so you guys can follow along with this. I think this keeps you organized. Do not fall in the rabbit hole I did of trying to see what I was doing. Now that you see it on the screen, I can better describe it. So, sorry, I'm flipping around here. So what I did earlier is I had general info section. Basically I had this wrote out and nothing more. And I was trying to do all of the things at once. So I had submit edit CV button already in there, and I was trying to take name, email, and phone number and do submit and have it display below, and I was getting all kinds of errors and problems. I got the static, the rendering to go, but having major issues with my understanding of props and state needs a lot of work. So and I think I was getting myself just confused doing too many things at once. So I tried this. I found this article in one of, it wasn't in this one, I think it was in yes, it was in the state and props. The link to this page was in the states and props module. So if you go back to that one, you can also see it. But for your guys' ease, I'll put it in the link as a link, just so you guys have that. But anyway, yeah, so that was what I was doing. So try not to do that yourself. Build it all out, mock it out on paper first, and then build it out on the screen statically with no props and no state, and see what you get, and then go from there. That's my best pointer summing up this video for today. So thanks for coming along the journey with me. If you stuck through all the way, I appreciate you and enjoy having you along, and I hope that you found value in this video. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I will let you know I am on call for work all next week, so from Monday to Monday, so this Monday to the next Monday, so it'll be a toss-up of whether I actually you see another video from me or whether I get anything done. If I will, I'll try to do an upload. We'll see how the week goes. So anyway, with all that said, until next time, see ya.